Oh, yes.
Welcome back once again, everyone. Today I'm very excited to bring you a look at the new Transformers Legacy, Target exclusive Buzzworthy Bumblebee Autobot Silverstreak. That's a bit of a mouthful. Now, the Silverstreak toy is a very interesting one. It's being released as part of the Target exclusive Buzzworthy Bumblebee subline, alongside the standard assortment of Legacy Deluxes. They're coming out at pretty much the same time. So I see him as a way of just kind of fleshing out the way that's already there. And he is an homage to the Diaclone toy that would eventually become the Autobot Bluestreak, which was ironically blue, while Bluestreak ended up being silver. And that was the cause of no shortage of rumors about an actual blue Bluestreak being released in Generation 1, but it was not. Don't let the rumors fool you. Never happened. Now, what's really interesting here is, as we see, the character's name Silverstreak, which previously had been a trademark safe name that Hasbro had used for the character Bluestreak when they had lost the ability to use his name there for a while. Specifically during like the mid-2000s, early 2010s time frame. So the fact that this guy is named Silverstreak while Bluestreak already exists and they still have the rights to that name, to me at least implies that he is meant to be a separate character, much in the vein of how Takara handled it for their Masterpiece line. So that's the way I'm going to look at him. He's just a separate Autobot named Silverstreak, and then his whole name is just a big ironic twist on the fact that Bluestreak is silver and Silverstreak is blue. And I like it. That being said, if you've seen my reviews before, you know this goes. We're going to take a look at Silverstreak's packaging, then we'll open it up, we'll check out his instructions, and then we'll see Silverstreak himself in both vehicle and robot modes. Naturally, I'll be doing plenty of group shots and comparisons today, and then at the end of the video, I'll get my final thoughts. So Silverstreak comes in a Buzzworthy-ified version of the Legacy packaging, complete with eye-searing yellow all over the place. You do get some nice artwork, much in the Legacy style of his vehicle mode right here on the front. But then instead of artwork of his robot mode here, you just get an assortment of different characters. You get Generation 1 RC, which looks like it's taken from her Earthrise and Kingdom packaging. You get a seemingly comic-inspired version of G1 Mirage. You get Evergreen Bumblebee, and then you get Cyberverse Optimus Prime for some reason. This packaging never made much sense to me with Buzzworthy. So, yeah, that's a thing. Oh, there's his robot mode right there. Okay, so they moved it from this side to the side that would normally have the side panel art. So that's cool. We do actually get to see artwork of his robot mode. I like that. A little bit of dull surprise going on there. Face could have been more dynamic, but it's okay. So here we can see Silverstreak himself. So interestingly, he's not a direct recolor of Bluestreak. He actually uses the car front and, robot chest area of Smokescreen, which has this added bit on the bottom here to be like a race car. I'm not sure why that change was made. I don't know if it was just to help set him apart more, or maybe it was just unintentional reuse of the wrong part of the mold. I don't know. It's okay though. It does help make him more unique because we haven't had this combination of the Smokescreen chest with the Bluestreak head in the Earthrise mold, so I'm okay with that. I don't mind it. Up top here, you can see where it says Transformers Legacy, firmly establishing him as part of that line. And then on the back, we get our renders of Silverstreak in both vehicle and robot modes. It takes 15 steps to transform. Now there's no QR code for him because he is just a special exclusive release, so he doesn't have his own profile on the website or anything. I am happy to see that he comes with not only the shoulder cannons, but also the handheld rifle, so they're not skimping on that at all, which is an issue that we've had with, the Datsun brothers and all their mold mates and all that. It's a lot of the time one or the other with those guys. So luckily, did not skimp. He comes with everything, which I like. So yeah, packaging's pretty cool. I don't like it as much as the regular Legacy artwork or, packaging, because the Buzzworthy stuff, I find it kind of ugly. But I will praise it for bringing us some very interesting things. I mean, when it first came out, it seemed like a big old waste of time because it was mostly just re-releases of like studio series stuff from the Bumblebee movie and not particularly great stuff either. But I mean, it really came into its own once we start getting stuff like the Worlds Collide pack and the Seibertron and Bumblebee and all that cool stuff. It's really become a very, very interesting subline, and one that, I'm looking forward to collecting more from. Okay, now we get to see Silverstreak's instructions. And they're done up in a very different style than the other Legacy figures. Those are made up more to be like, the size and shape of a book. This is like a little square set of instructions, and it's just like a plain old fold-out sheet here. So, really breaking the trend with the Buzzworthy line here. So, this just shows you how to place his weapons on his shoulders and in his hand. Shows you how to store the rifle on his back, and then even how to combine all his weapons into one large blaster. So, pretty cool. And then we get our transformation from robot to vehicle. Wraps all the way around the back here. Complete a vehicle mode, and then this shows you where to store the weapons in the vehicle mode. So, nothing new if you already have some version of this mold, but it's always good to get nice clear instructions, and having it in the Buzzworthy yellow means it's very easy to see the renders, so that's always nice, because it's nothing more frustrating than having a set of instructions that you can't read. And now we get to see Silverstreak's vehicle mode, and you can see it's very, very nicely done. And it is based on the blue Diaclone toy that had the silver hood. There was one that was just plain blue, but this is what they went with for this version, which is, traditionally what people think of when they think of Bluestreak. You can see that all of his weapons are cast in white plastic, which means they must be, on the same sprue as all the white bits here, the hands, heels, all that. And I gotta say, this car mode looks really nice. It's got this almost royal blue coloring going on. The pegs, while they are still there and shining through the wheels, are at least the same color as the wheels, so they're not as much of an eyesore. He actually has painted taillights, which is an absolute rarity amongst car Transformers these days. That's very cool. And then he has clear plastic for the headlights, painted grille section. He looks good. He, does not look like they skipped any real details on him. He's got his nice, proudly displayed Autobot symbol here on the hood. I really like this. It's a good vehicle mode. Like all the others, it rolls very, very well. One of the more solid car modes that came out of Earthrise, I think. And now we get our group shot with all of the other Praxian natives, or Datsun brothers, whatever you want to call them, from the Earthrise series. And I gotta say, they look really great together. I love the variety, whether it comes to the very different paint schemes or, the different body shapes. Our Silverstreak, Smokescreen, and Barricade all have that extended hood section down there, making them the race car type. And then we have our more traditional body shapes here with Prowl and Bluestreak. But what I really like about this is these guys are all like different combinations of accessories, body types, head types. So what you can see here in vehicle mode is you have a racer type with a light bar, a standard body with a light bar, racer type without a light bar, standard body without a light bar, and then another racer type without a light bar. So quite a bit going on here, and then you'll see even more variety once we transform them into robot mode and get to see their heads. Now here's a comparison I bet you weren't expecting. Does anyone know what this is? It's a rather obscure one. This is Combiner Wars Bluestreak. And this was a figure that was only available through the Transformers Collectors Club as part of their subscription service. And he is one of the components that makes up the Records Combiner Wreckage. So even though he is Bluestreak, which is, a different character from this new Silverstreak, he is also an homage to the Diaclone toy that would become Bluestreak. And you can definitely see it here. They're both primarily blue with the silver hood, Autobot symbol on the front. Now he's obviously a very different body type. The Combiner Wars Prowl mold and everything related to it was very stylized and did not look much like Generation 1 Prowl at all, aside from the fact that he was a police car and he had the same head. That was about it, And then, you just picked whatever colors you needed to make him, Prowl, Smokescreen, Bluestreak. Heck, you could swap his head out and make him streetwise. They got a lot of mileage out of this mold. Now, it is one of my favorites of Combiner Wars because it is very sleek looking, very futuristic. Now, he does have the white on the door, and that's just a product of, the molding requirements and all that, and this is unpaintable plastic right here for structural support. But he is still pretty cool in his own right. He does have that residual light bar on the top, so they just went and painted it silver. So yeah, just seeing these two together, these are, aside from the masterpiece, I think the only, Bluestreak updates we've received. Now we finally get to see Silverstreak's robot mode, and I think this thing looks gorgeous. I've always preferred the blue Diaclone colors of, the Bluestreak body over the gray one. Like, the gray one's nice, it looks kind of like a luxury car, but it's just not as interesting as this. I love the deep blues on this guy, and I love the yellow crest he gets on his head, which really sets him apart from the other Datsun who Bluestreak often shares a head mold with, and that would be Prowl. And I also think the white on the limbs here really just kind of helps him pop, so I'm really a big fan of the way this came out. And as much as I love the regular Bluestreak, I really like Silverstreak's colors just that much more. He's really good looking. Now, as far as this toy's tolerances and everything, his head is on a pretty tight ball joint, but it works very well. The shoulders are nice and smooth. The bicep swivel's pretty tight, but not too bad. It's got good elbows. It's got the wrist swivel still. The waist feels good. The hips and all that. Everything's pretty tight, but not too tight. And you especially don't want things too tight around the knee area because, you know, this mold is infamous for having the clear plastic shins, which, you know, have a pin going through them. That's always a little bit scary. Same thing for the backpack. You gotta be really careful in transforming him not to, you know, stress this and try to make things move in the wrong way. But as long as you're mindful of what this toy is and you know, potential weak points, I think it works out really great. The ankle tilt's on point, like everything about this guy feels really solid. I'm not seeing any signs of mold degradation, any looseness, anything like that. He feels perfect. Now we get the silver-colored Autobot, who may or may not be the same character, depending on your personal headcanon. They have different names, but the Silverstreak doesn't have a bio, so it's hard to say. I'm personally going with he's a different guy, but if you're really attached to the idea of just having a blue Bluestreak, I mean, just ignore the name, I guess. It is your toy, after all. So you can see what I'm saying. The regular Bluestreak colors, they're really, really nice looking, but I always felt that out of the bunch, he was kind of the most plain looking, right? Like a dark silver car is nothing unusual or unique. Whereas this guy, I mean, he looks like some sort of fancy race car. He looks like he's at a custom paint job, and, you know, he's not just meant for, like, you know, mom and dad to drive the kids around in a four-door sedan. So, as I already said, I do prefer this guy's look. Now, because I do consider them different characters, to me, it's not really competition. They're just two different guys with the same overall body type. You know, just like Smokescreen, Prowl, Barricade, all that. So, to me, I just enjoy them both for what they are. They're both unique, and they both have their pros and cons as far as their looks. So, yeah, I enjoy having more variety here. And yeah, you know, there are retools and all that. But the one thing you do get here, and I'll touch on more of that here in a moment, you do get the very unique combination of the Smokescreen chest with the Bluestreak or Prowl head. That doesn't exist on any other version of this mold yet. So at least it is something different and, you know, is a combination you wouldn't normally pick up unless you get this guy. Now here's our big group shot with all the Datsun bros from the War for Seibertron and Legacy lines. And now that we have the heads revealed, we can see that this guy really does add just a little bit more variety. These two both have your Prowl or Bluestreak head with the standard body type. These two both are basically Smokescreen with, you know, the Smokescreen head, which is kind of got like the fatter helmet going under the chin there, and the elongated chest area. And then our new guy just is a combination of the two, and he's the only one to have that, and it's really good because now it doesn't feel like you're getting too much of the same. Now, I ultimately do not know why Hasbro and Takara opted to give him the racer car body as opposed to the same one that Bluestreak would have. You would think, for accuracy's sake, that they would want to make him just look like Bluestreak but a different color. But I don't mind that they did it. And they may have done it just for, you know, the reasons that were mentioned, that it's just more variety. It's something different, so it doesn't feel like you're just buying the same toy. At the end of the day, though, we'll probably never really know why they did what they did. And for a final comparison, we have the Combiner Wars Bluestreak yet again. And you can see, as different as they were in their vehicle modes, the robot modes are almost nothing alike. The only thing they really have in common is the same overall head design, and that's about it. You know, this guy doesn't have any door wings, he doesn't have a hood chest, the hood is on the back. They do color his chest to kind of resemble the hood, like this is supposed to be headlights right here, but it's a pretty far cry from, you know, what it's actually meant to be. Now again, I really do like this toy. Like, even though it's so different from what you would expect from a Bluestreak or a Silverstreak, I just think he's great in his own right. I love the brighter blue that he uses in combination with all these like bright, ridiculous looking colors. It makes him, I don't know, just really interesting to look at. One of the cooler Combiner Wars figures to come out, and he has a much more interesting deco than the Prowl or the Smokescreen that were released in the standard retail line. So I like this guy, but I also understand that for the vast majority of people, he's no proper stand-in for getting something that actually looks like this. Because, when people want that Diaclone Colors Bluestreak, or, whatever you want to call it, this is what they have in mind, this is what they picture. I mean, this was a good stand-in before we had a proper G1-based Datsun mold, because at the time it was pretty much Combiner Wars or Universe, and the Universe one was also quite different. Might have been closer, but it was still doing its own thing. For one, it was the only version of these guys to have actual feet and not just, car parts as the feet, so that was interesting. And I realized I've never actually done a review of this guy or like any of his team. So if you guys are interested in seeing that, like if you want to see a, Combiner Wars Wreckage review where I look at the whole team and the Combiner and all that, let me know. Combiner videos are pretty big and they're hard to make, but I do very much enjoy making them because I love Combiners. So if there's enough interest, I'll go and revisit that old Combiner, because I'm sure that a lot of people have never seen Wreckage before and might actually be interested in seeing that. So let me know. And this completes our look at the new Buzzworthy Bumblebee Legacy Silverstreak. I have to say I very much like this guy. I think it's really, really cool that we're finally getting a Bluestreak, Diaclone Bluestreak, whatever you want to call it, in a proper G1 form, and one that's, relatively affordable, unlike the very rare and very expensive club figure. I think there's going to be a lot of people that are really interested in this guy. I know, the hunt was on for him pretty heavily when he first started dropping on shelves. And he's just kind of one of those grail characters, right? For a very long time, people have wanted a Bluestreak. Now, maybe you already got that in the form of Masterpiece, but that was a rather expensive option compared to this. So for people that are, just kind of looking to collect on the retail level and not spend a whole bunch of money, I think this guy is a premium choice. And if you are like a Diaclone collector, if you're, a big fan of the Datsun mold with all of its, potential breakage problems and all that, or you just are in need of some form of a Bluestreak, even though this guy may be called Silverstreak, again, it's your toy, you can call it whatever you want. So I do very much recommend this guy, especially if you don't have the regular Earthrise Bluestreak, who I believe, wasn't he a Walgreens exclusive, if I remember right? I think it was Walgreens, so he wasn't the easiest thing to find as is. This guy's also an exclusive, but Target exclusives tend to be a lot easier to find than Walgreens ones. For one, they just stock their toy section better. Plus, you can more easily find their stuff online, and, it's a good option for those that are real completionists, Diaclone fans, or just really need a good Bluestreak. Because if you ask me, he's the more interesting Bluestreak out of the two anyway. Of course, that is just how I feel about this figure, so now I want to know what you all think of this guy. Do you really like the way he came out? Do you like the way that they made him a separate character and, kind of had some fun with the whole naming convention where, Bluestreak Silver, now Silverstreak is blue, just that crazy confusing mess? Or are you not interested in this maybe? He's too redundant, you don't like having, multiples of the same mold, or you just don't care about Diaclone colors? Any and all feedback's always welcome in the comments section. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to toss it a like. Let YouTube know you want to see more stuff like this. If you do want to see more like this, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you always get a heads up when I post something new. I thank you for joining me for this look at the new Transformers Legacy Buzzworthy Bumblebee Autobot Silverstreak. And with all that said, I will see you next time.